Okay, I think we are back again. Nice and slow. Let's see. Okay, Amnesty's here. Can you hear me, Amnesty? Yeah, hopefully the last time. Let's hope. Let's hope. This is it. Let's hope it works now. Because that's kind of like... Can I move this a bit over here? Something like that. Like that, maybe. I don't know what happened. I don't know what happened. Got some encoder error, and then OBS froze, and then apparently the frame. That was the first time. And then the second time, I got an error again. But then OBS was fine, and I was showing you guys the error and was talking to you, and then I could see in the chat that people was like, "Okay, stream is frozen." So, yeah. Anyway, so we are keeping the stream simple for now. Only YouTube. Boom. Move on. Anyway, so let's pretend the other streams didn't happen, and let's just quickly see that we are gonna look into these things today. Clean up the shell and mortar logic that we worked on last time, and then maybe some extension method, and then maybe some mortar and shell stuff that works kind of in multiplayer, because currently it will not work in multiplayer for sure. We can try it out, but it will not work. So let's see how much of this we can actually get done today. But yeah, so that's the plan. You guys know that, but I'm just saying it again because people might be watching this live stream on demand later on, so then it might be nice to know. Anyway, so by the way, which setup, when I show code and show stuff, do you prefer this one where I'm the tiny picture in the bottom, or do you prefer this one where I'm kind of in the side of the view? This one or this one? I try and do as much as I can to zoom in on stuff like this, so it's and I don't know if that's maybe too confusing too, but this side is fine. Yeah, so this one, it's just like, you know, my face is not that important, but at least when I'm watching live streams, it's kind of interesting, or it's nice to see the guy actually talking. That just, it do something. I don't know. Anyway, let's see if it saved my changes from before. It most likely didn't. Okay, it did. Okay, so, but we still need to get in here and then clean up the shell behavior script over here, because we need to have different effects, different sounds, yada yada. And actually the sound, we don't have to set that on the sound. We don't have to set that on the shell. That could just be on the effect, really, because we have logic for that anyway. But performance wise, anyway, let's see here. So we need to remove this one. So we have some, you can see here what we have, these settings we have up here, you know, with these headers here. That is what ends up in, when you have a shell selected, that's what ends up over here as these headlines here. So we have setting effects not loaded, settings effect loaded. Please come with a better name if you have that, because this is not super. But the idea is that we have the effects here for when it's on the ground or not in the tube, and this is when it's in the tube. And I will rename these names now. Yeah. Anyway, let's go back here. We just leave it with that for now. So let's see, ground. Force. We don't actually need this force thingy, and we really don't need the sound either, because that's on the effect. Really. So we really just need the we could just have something called not loaded effect. We could put a tooltip here saying something like effect for when shell is ignited on ground. And we can have effect here. It's ignited in a mortar tube thingy. And then we need to say this is the loaded in mortar effect. Pop up. Not loaded. Damn it, naming is so terribly hard. Okay, for now we just leave with this. I hope I can make trails and stuff just like I do on cakes and things such. Yeah, but you can, because you control the effect yourself. And for the hang time, and the hang time we can do 2 times, between 2 times, but the hang time was originally just for when it was on the ground. So it was like this poof going off, some hang time, and then the explosion. But now I'm actually changing it. So the effect on the ground is really just a particle effect, meaning you can do an initial flash kind of effect, and then afterwards do the explosion. So basically, you control in the particle system how long it should be there. That's at least what I'm aiming for now. And for the hang time, so for example, the rocket have a single thrusting time, but it's on. Yeah, exactly. Actually, the thrusting time there is actually, but you can't see it and you can't control it as far as I remember. But I think there is, at least there was in the single player version, there was some kind of randomization to that thrusting time, I think. But I think I removed it in the multiplayer to avoid things being out of sync. But I'm not sure. Coding looks so difficult. Well, yeah, it is, but it's most likely. But typically, actually, and that's actually a funny thing. Typically, people don't know what the hardest part of coding is. The hardest part of coding is actually naming things correctly and structuring things in a way so it makes sense no matter where you're coming from. So like just having a variable called effect is kind of what is effect in relation to what. And you don't want to have super long names either. So it's really hard. And people that can't code don't think that is really that hard. But naming and structuring things is really a big thing. Can I show you exactly what I mean after stream? Might be easy to explain. Yeah, we can do a call amnesty for sure. But I think I know what you mean. It will be exactly the same thing, but with no launch speed. Yeah, exactly. But you can use the same effect. That's what I'm aiming for here too. But maybe later we can, whenever we have, maybe tomorrow, maybe amnesty if you have time. Hello, Mr. J. Welcome back. Okay. We just keep it. For instance, these naming here is... I'm not satisfied with these names here. But sometimes you also have to just move on, start using it, and then suddenly a better name You get out, you come up with a better name, and then you can just rename it. The problem is that what I'm doing now is something that modders will use. So once I put this out to modders, if I change the naming of things, in some cases, it will break the mods. So I really need to be pretty sure of the names of stuff before I put it into the mod tools and give it to modders, because yeah, then I can't change it afterwards. Like I can if it was only in the game, then I can just rename it as I want. Yeah, Amnesty is really hungry for making mods. Yes, more making shells and mods for that matter, but especially shells. He's actually the one pushing me to do this. But it actually makes sense. I know it makes sense, and also because shells from the current Panini mod will never work in multiplayer, so I have to do something. And as shells and mortars has been on the to-do for a while, it makes sense to do it now. Okay, so let's see. Main load of. Let's just check for. Yeah, okay. This is actually just a hack for if modders or myself by mistake put the looping on the root particle system, because that happens sometimes, Amnesty, as you know. In this one, I figured out I can do this to just, because that one should never be looping. The root particle system should never be looping, because then the fireworks will never end and will never go away. Anyway, side effect. So we might still want this physics stuff. Or do we? So what I'm considering now is that we can on a shell have kind of a force that it will, physics force that it will pop or push the shell rigid body. Specific on that, it will most likely, I will have more control over that and most likely will perform better. But I could also just let it be part of the particle system, so I leave it up to the creator of the effect of how much force it should apply. Okay, let's and the same goes with the sound. Let me just choose something. So this one is running here, so let's just wait. So that's the not loaded effect and is playing blah blah blah. See, and the exploding force just once. You also need to do that. So now when it's ignited on ground, it will just play the not loaded effect. Then it will wait for it to be done, and then it will because this is not gonna work super well. This is not gonna work super well. Because if you wanna have that effect of the shell being kind of popped a little, so it's like boop, and then sometimes goes by that is controllable by the creator, and then it explodes. Then we can't do it like this, I think. Okay, so we have this one, that's the loaded effect, and this one is the on the ground effect. Let's just try it for fun, but it won't work, because it will just, the fuse will just be done, and then it will just explode. There will be no of this little poop, and then it goes off. But you could. The thing is that if we put that, and this is actually amnesty to you, the argument for not putting that initial puff and then the explosion into the particle system is that it will be more complicated to do, I think, for people. But it also gives the most flexibility. Whereas if we do it as part of the shell script, it's pretty obvious when you look at the shell behavior, the settings you need to set, the effect that it plays on the ground, and the effect it plays when in a mortar, and then this kind of initial physics thing. I think I know how it would be the best way to do it. We have to talk amnesty. But already it's simpler now than it was in the beginning. But the thing is, as I also said before, I can figure out how to do this. It's a matter of doing it in a way so it's as simple as possible for people to do and give the most flexibility. So this one worked. Oops. Okay, we need to put it on the ground. See, now the fuse will go off, and then it will just explode. It won't even explode. Why didn't it do that? Okay, play this one. Maybe it's this one. But yeah. Oh, I also need to. That's also why. have two different effects in each prefab, each containing the launch, tail and explosion. Then if it's slid on the ground, it plays one and deletes the other. If in the tube, plays the if it's in the tube, it plays the air. But that is what I'm having here, Amnesty. Okay, but if you have time today, I have time to, half an hour, 40 minutes from now. So I will end off the stream in like 10 minutes, and then we can do a call if you have time. But it is really what I'm showing here. So if you see here, this is the on ground or not loaded effect, boom. And this is the effect when it's loaded in a tube. So I already have that. And so this logic in the shell here, the logic going on here, that always plays the on the not loaded effect. So because if the shell itself is the one that is ignited, it's because it's on the ground. Because if it's loaded into something, the shell script is not the one handling the explosion thing, it's the mortar script over here that just takes the loaded effect from the shell and plays it and instantiates it and do its thing on the mortar. So it is really, it is to it, but maybe you have another idea. Just do want to try it again here. Okay, but let's I'll stop the stream in like 8 minutes, and then we can have a little chat. But maybe you're seeing something I don't. But I think this is fairly simple. But again, it's a matter of making it simple enough and still having it, having it simple to use and have it be a lot flexible. See, now it's just exploding right away, and then in a moment when the smoke is gone, this one is gone too. And that's another problem, because if it's all in the particle system, you see that the shell only goes away once the entire effect goes away. And that's not really what we want. You want the shell to disappear the moment the explosion happens, but the explosion is one effect, so yeah. Yeah, and it's also hard for me to explain here when I'm just talking myself, because a lot of stuff is going on in my head and I have a hard time, saying it all. You can also join the stream if you want, Amnesty, but it's also okay if you just want to do it one-to-one. Just saw a channel called Fireworks MANIA Official joined my live stream. Not this, the one on the shorts thingy. Yeah, but the thing is, and that's the problem, Amnesty. Yeah, it's hard to explain, but if the puff and the physics effect on the shell itself is done by that single particle system that both have the puff and the hang time and the explosion inside that single, with one root particle system, I can't know what is happening. I don't know when the initial puff is happening and then when the explosion happens. So that's why I can't make the model disappear between the two, or when the explosion happened, but after the puff, if that makes sense. So, but we can do it if we have another effect that is the puff and then an explosion effect. We can't join the stream, but we can do a call on Discord and then you are part of the stream. But we can also do it maybe it's interesting to people, I don't know. Fire Alarm Johnny joined the live stream on the shorts feed. Whoa! It works. It seems like this streaming to the shorts feed actually works. Yeah, should we do a call? But is it okay for you if we do it on stream? Yeah, let's just hop into the private channel. And then you might want to mute my stream because else you're getting mad. Let's see, where is it? Isn't it, don't we use the private system, boys? I think we use this one. So let's see. Fire Alarm Johnny just joined, so I don't know what you talking about. Well, one question for you, Fire Alarm Johnny. Did you see this live stream? Did it just show up in your shorts feed on your phone? Or are you following my channel anyway, but you know, beforehand? Okay, yes, it is. So it's just because I'm trying some new stuff here, where I'm streaming both to the shorts feed and to the as a normal stream. So this stream is actually both. Okay, so you were subscribed to me, and then it showed up in your shorts feed as a live stream.
Hello.
Okay. Hello.
All right. Let
Keldusar, let me know if you can. I think I need to wear headphones, so because sometimes the voice from people goes into the mic and then you can hear double, and that's annoying. So Keldusar, can you confirm that you can hear Amnesty too?
Is Keltazar talking?
No, it's just in the chat. I'm just in the chat. He goes under different name on the Discord for now, apparently. Because he have an issue with his account. Oh, you have multiple. Now the name is changed again. It's another account now. Okay. So you can hear. Okay, so it works. So is it okay I share your screen sharing, Amnesty?
Yeah.
So let's see here how it looks. Can I do this full screen? Okay, I can't do it more full screen than this, but it's fine. Okay, but I think we're talking about the same thing, to be honest.
Yeah, after you just explain it again, it kind of sounds like we might. I've been very confused because it seems like it's changed 3 times in the last couple days.
Yeah, but it have.
Okay, so here's kind of my idea. I think the easiest way to do it would be, so this is a single shot tube, what I have open right now. It has the
that's a single shot tube.
There.
Yeah, okay.
It has a launch effect, the trail going up, and the explosion.
Yeah.
So
but it's one particle effect, and that's the important thing.
It's all in this one main effect.
Yeah.
So I guess the easiest way I could see it is you have this. If it's loaded into the tube, it plays this particle system. And in each shell prefab, you have 2 of these. One being blue peony, and the other one being
ground or whatever.
Blue peony ground or something like that. And for this one, the only thing that would really need to change is the launch effect would be like tiny compared to before, and then the speed that sends it up into the air would be pretty much 0 to 1 or something like that. So let's say it's loaded into the tube, it plays this one where it gets shot in the air. Let's say you play it on the ground, or you light it on the ground, it plays this one. Where it just kind of floats there until it explodes.
Yes. And that's also fine. I can do that. But it also okay, yeah. And then you would, to help yourself you can do it as you do here, but to help yourself as a modder, it would make sense to have it really as one prefab and then have an override on that one. So you kind of have the effect with the full shut up and the launch effect and the explosion, and you have that as a prefab, and then you have a copy of that prefab where you just change just the launch part, so that.
So you're saying the same thing I'm saying, except instead of having both of them in one prefab, you have a prefab for the ground and a prefab for in the air.
No, it could be one prefab, but you have 2 versions of it in here. So that when you make a change, but now we are talking about how modders need to structure it, and the problem is that require, but it always does that, require people to know a lot to structure it, ideally to not having to copy and redo a lot of stuff. But I think we're saying the same thing. You have, it's 2 effects. If it's a prefab or it's 2 effects in here, it doesn't really matter. It's just a matter, the prefab thing is just to make it easier for you to maintain, really. So like, if you drag this blue Pyrenees or whatever it's called down and make it a prefab, and then you make a copy of that in here, then you could have on the ground one, you just lower the start speed. And that's it.
I feel like to somebody who's kind of new, that might be a little confusing. Plus, the project would get really messy dragging prefabs around and stuff like that.
Exactly. But the problem with the way you've done it now is that you can end up having one effect on the ground, a red effect on the ground, and a blue effect when it goes up in the tube. And that's also weird.
Well, see, that's why you would make the effect that goes up in the air. You'd have that done, and then you would duplicate it and literally just change the launch speed.
Yeah, but the problem is, reality is that you iterate through, and as you also know, you think you're done, then you make a copy, change it, then 1 minute later or 2 minutes later, you figure out there is an issue in the original one, then you go back and change that and forget to do it in the other one. It's just, you must have experienced that. So the problem is you have to remember to go back and do the change in the other version too, and that's easy enough.
Either way, the shells are going to be a little more complicated than any of the other stuff.
Yeah, that's what I'm trying to avoid, but I just haven't figured out the best way yet, because it is more complicated, because basically a shell have 2 effects. It doesn't have 2 effects, but it have one effect with a launch and one without, basically. But
let me show you this. What is it? Where is it at? So this is the way. So I don't know if you exactly saw how Panini did it before, but he had the launch effect was its own prefab. And that got played I think that was controlled by the tube. That got played if something was shot out of the tube. And inside that was also the the sound, the launch sound.
Mm-hmm.
So it was a little more confusing. Like, for example, here's the 3-inch launch effect.
Mm-hmm.
This is a prefab on its own.
Yeah. Yeah, and that makes sense because you would reuse that between
that would be
X amount
that's basically just in the package.
Yes.
So like, let's say this was the launch effect for like 3-inch.
And it have the sound. Yeah, but if you go to, I think you need to go to the root route. Now the root, the top node to the left.
Oh, that's right.
I would assume, at least.
Yeah. And the sound was
exactly. Yes.
And then for this, you had the model, the fuse, all that stuff.
And that effect you see here, that's the actual effect, right? Oh. But
so this is the effect.
But
this is basically what I was saying before, except without the launch embers. The launch embers are its own prefab that are attached to the tube, pretty much.
Okay.
That's how he had it built. So this, so you can see like.
So there's no. Yeah. Okay. There's no
launch effects on this one. It's just the tail and the explosion.
Yeah. Okay.
And what it did is, if you did it on the ground, this also has its own launch sound.
Yeah.
So the launch sound would play a different one. You had to make sure you had the one coming out of the tube assigned to the launch effect, and then you have like a little puff assigned to this one because it didn't come out of the tube and it wouldn't make that big loud explosion. But it still had the same sound. It played this sound and this particle system no matter what. Except if he had logic behind the shells, I think. If you didn't have it in the tube, it didn't use this launch speed. Actually, I think it's somewhere in here, maybe. Right here. So ground shell speed.
Yeah. So it's a setting. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. But that's basically what I had.
Shell, like this prefab right here, you're basically building. You're building all of it right here. The launch sound and the launch effect are its own thing. No. And this speed that shoots it up into the air play as long as it's launched out of the tube.
Yeah. Yeah, so he is doing something, but it is basically, that is basically what I also had. I just call it something else, but that's why I had this little, I assume if I go in and look at the script, I would assume that ground, what's it called, ground force or ground speed or whatever, that would most likely push the rigid body of the shell, unless he assumes the root particle effect is the one launching. Yeah, I don't know. But it is the same. It's just a matter of how we're structuring it. But it is basically the same, except I have this other problem of having it to work on multiplayer too. So
that's why in my head what I was doing before, where we have one prefab with two particle systems. I feel like that might be the easiest because you can determine which one you need to play.
Yeah, but that's what I have now too.
Okay. So I thought in yours, all of the launch, the explosion, all that stuff, I thought they were all separate. Are they not?
No. Well, the effect might have different prefabs inside it because I'm reusing some stuff, but you don't have to. So that's up to how you want to structure your own stuff. But the shell right now have two prefabs as it is right now. I can change it many times, but it have two now. It have one for the ground and one for the tube thing. What I want to avoid is, as I said, is that you by mistake yeah, I wanna.
So if you have different prefabs, you have to have two different definitions then, right?
No, because the prefabs are inside the shell. But yeah, okay. So you, yeah, okay. So the yeah, okay. Maybe I should check how he does it with the ground. That ground speed thing. That could be interesting. Maybe.
Because it looks like it just plays. It'll play. The tube plays the launch effect. The sound is handled by the launch effect, unless it's not like if you're just considering the shell one prefab, like let's take the tube out of the equation.
Mm-hmm.
The shell is its own prefab, it's its own definition, own entity, all that stuff. If let's just say tubes don't exist and the shell is just something that you light on the ground. It has its own sound.
Yeah.
It has a launch speed, and then it has, I guess he added something to a script where if it's not inside a tube, it changes the launch speed to whatever you manually set it to down there on the right hand side.
Yeah.
So that might, is that the way he built it? Maybe is that easy to do with multiplayer as well?
Yeah, but it is the approach I'm aiming for. It is kind of the same thing. It really is.
I think to, make sure that we got on the same page with just so that you didn't get super deep into it and then realize
of course
something needed to change.
Of course. Let's see, Fearless Studio says something. He say, can you make an explosion effect and a launch effect so when the launch effect dies it triggers us an explosion? If it is on the ground, it only plays the explosion one. Yeah, Fearless, that is basically that is what we are doing. Well, it's not the same way, but
you can't just have it play the explosion because there is that time delay in between still.
Exactly. But maybe if we go back to the problem I said before, if the effect with the launch and the explosion is one particle effect, then if the initial puff, the wait time, and the explosion is one single particle effect. That's basically what you have. That's what it is in your case here, right?
So you were saying, you're saying if I, use this single shot as an example, if I just deleted the actual explosion effect off of it, you're saying that the launch and the tail going up?
No, what I'm saying is that if the shell is on the ground and you ignite it, then you would expect the shell model to have an initial puff and then move around. The actual shell, you can still see it because it's not exploding yet.
Yeah.
And then when it's exploding, that shell model have to be hidden. The problem is with the current setup here, if it's one single particle effect, I don't know when stuff is happening in the particle system. So I have no way of knowing when to hide the model. That's why.
But don't you do know when it explodes because it plays the explosion sound when it explodes.
I don't know that. You can build the particle system exactly as you want.
I'm confused. So let's say you light it on the ground. You're saying you'll see the actual shell roll around for a little bit until it explodes. When it explodes, your script knows when it explodes because it already plays the explosion sound. So couldn't you just have it whenever it's, I don't know, whatever logic you have behind it to know when to play the explosion sound?
No.
Couldn't you also use that to delete the model of the shell?
No, because okay, show me when the explosion show me in here when the explosion sound plays.
On this particle system sound Script.
Yeah. That particle system sound thing could be on any of these particles. Could be basically on all of them. On the launch chamber, on the subtrail. It could be on anything. Which one of them tells me that it's exploding?
It's the main particle. Just like for any of the single shots or any of the cakes or anything.
That's
when that particle is spawned, it plays the launch sound and it shoots it up in the air.
Yeah.
When that specific particle dies, it plays the destroy sound, and I feel like it could also delete the model, just like how we do. I know it's a little different with the rockets, but
the problem is that you are right, but you're not right. Because the thing is, this is how your stuff is set up. It's not, how should people know that the particle system sound on the root thing determines when the shell is hidden? What I'm trying to get at is, it's not intuitive. It's not logical that this is happening. This sound, you could, the root particle system could be a flash or some other thing. It doesn't have to be that root one that triggers that particle that goes up into the air that eventually triggers the explosion. That's what I'm trying to say, is that it depends on how you build your particle hierarchy and what does what. You have the root one to make it go up and all that, and that's also how I build the stuff, I assume.
Yeah,
But you could build it differently. Let's say you had something that do some initial explosion out to the side with smoke and stuff, and then after 1 second it fires something up. I know it's a weird behavior, but you could do it. And that's the flexibility I wanna allow people to have. But it still needs, so in that case, I need to have some kind of way to know when to hide the model, if that makes sense. But I think I will figure something out. But it makes sense to maybe have that. So in the current version, in the modded version here, if you go to the root here, on the shell, if you select the top one, you decide the prefab that shoots off the that initial amber thing.
Yeah, give me 1 second. Yeah. Bring it back in.
But I know it's confusing. It's super confusing, and I'm not.
I think it's not going to be super intuitive if somebody goes in it with no knowledge of building mods at all before. Like, the shells shouldn't be the first thing they do.
No.
But if we do it the way I'm saying, it's pretty much just 2 single shots in a prefab, and you're deciding which one to play. What were you asking about this?
I was just asking where you set these launch effects. These launch effects is basically just that.
Should be up here.
Yeah, so right here. Okay, so you set them on the shell. Okay, so that's the tube effect. Yeah, okay.
And there's also a tube load
and
sound.
the looped, so the load sound is actually on the shell and not on the tube, really.
Yeah.
Yeah. Wouldn't that make more sense to be on the tube, really? Or does the sound change?
I mean, he made it so that you could use any sound you wanted.
Yeah, but I'm talking about
I guess
when it would make sense to have it.
It would be.
If you look at real life, is the sound different? If you have a 3-inch tube, is the sound of the shell going into it different depending on what shell you put in?
I would think the only reason the sound would be different would be the material of the shell or the tube. Because there are like a handful of plastic shells as opposed to your typical cardboard and paper ones. But that's like a very minute detail that is not. I'm a very detail-oriented person, and that's not.
And that's too much for you.
That's too detailed.
Okay, if you think it's too detailed, it's way too detailed. I can live without it. No,
but I would say maybe loading a 6-inch shell sounds, or maybe loading a 2-inch shell sounds different than loading a 10-inch shell. It could. I mean, I don't.
Yes, but my point is just that I would say that this should be okay. I know why he. Okay, I'm just saying that the sound of the shell going into the tube should really be on the tube. You know, it's the tube that makes the sound. You could say it doesn't really matter. You know, it was just like, you know, logically, where does that sound live? You know, who decides the sound? But it could also, I don't know, because the problem is that the shell doesn't know what tube it is being put into. You know, if it's a cardboard one, plastic one, metal one, you know, it would have different sounds, really.
Said, like, it probably would have a slightly different tone or something like that.
But it doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter. That doesn't matter.
We
like I said,
most likely we will end up with one sound just saying, and that will be reused over and over again because it's not that important. But yeah, it's a minor detail. It doesn't matter. It was not so much the sound mode. It was where to put it. But anyway. Yeah, but I have some ideas, but as you know, I'm trying always to make it as simple as possible, so it actually is as simple as possible for people to figure out. Yeah.
So what you're kind of going with right now is going to be like the launch, the kind of like what I said, the launch, the tail, and the effect are all going to be in one prefab. And let's say I have this blue horsetails one. You're just going to pretty much duplicate this prefab, and this one's going to be the ground one. And then you just change what you need to on that one?
No. I would do it to keep it simple. I would have it just like you have now. Everything would be in the shell prefab, just as you showed before, actually.
So even the ground, like the ground one and the air one are both going to be in one prefab?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And then you're just going to have it determine whether or not it's in the tube, and that determines which one it'll play?
Yes, exactly. But
and then I guess what you could do with that over here for the sound is, instead of just having a launch sound and a destroyed sound, you'd have a launch sound, a ground sound, and a destroyed sound.
No, because the launch sound here, you have here the Dominator, whatever launch sound. On the effect for the ground, you would have one sound, and for the effect in the tube, it would be another sound. But it would play at the same time.
You are doing a separate launch effect.
Yes.
Kind of like exactly like how Panini did it.
It very close to, I think, yeah.
Okay, but it's gonna be generally that same idea, the launch. Okay, I think I understand now.
But I can see
it's essentially gonna be very close to how Panini.
Yeah, and I see, and the reason he can. Okay, but I think we can make it even more simple. We can make it more like Panini did, actually, because he have one effect. But what he have taken out is the launch amber thing, the puffs and the smoke of the launch itself. He have taken that out. Yeah. So yes, it's its own prefab. So by doing that, that one is only played
when it's in the
tube. So the other one is always played as is, but
unless it's in the tube.
Yeah, also when it's in the tube, but then this one is just also played. Both of them are played,
and you could have a default one of these, and then everybody can also make their own, because you're just dragging it.
Yeah. Yeah, and most likely these launch thing, I will make some default ones, and then people will use that, and then you will have your own realistic one, and you would reuse that.
Honestly, I'm sure probably use these ones from Panini as well.
Exactly, you would just use the ones you have, exactly. But I need to provide something built in anyway. But that's just content. It's not how it's built. But the beautiful thing about that approach is that then we can have, just as Panini have here, we only have one shell, one effect in the shell. And then, but I need to look into his script and see what he does with that ground thing. If he is just going into the particle system and changing the speed of the, the initial going up, but I'll figure that one out, because that is actually simpler, because then we only have one effect in the shell, and I just do a minor code change when it's not in a shell.
Mm-hmm.
So you build, because right now when you're building a shell, you are building it like it was shooting out of a mortar, right? You do the effect as you will.
Just like how the single shots are. That's essentially what it is.
Exactly. And it's just a minor change to that when it's not. Yeah. And I think that's the holy grail, I think, to make it simple. Also because the launch Ember thingy thing, it's the same over and over again, so it makes sense to have it as a separate one and reusable one.
What is taking this thing so long?
Okay. But it could be interesting if you have the script here, if you can open that, if your Visual Studio want to open, try and see that ground shell speed. Try and select that and then right click all references. Find our reference in the middle there, Shift F12, yep. So, and then go down to the, he's just taking, okay, I can see what he's doing already. Just click on the one of these.
It doesn't matter which one.
The top one, for instance. Yeah. So, what he is doing is, he is actually taking out the, he's taking the main effect. So he is assuming that your main effect is the one shooting up, and then he's just which is fine.
Should be.
Yeah.
That's how.
If that's how it works today, it's okay. But it's not. But can you see what I mean? It's not. You could have done it differently, but we just happened to do it this way. But it doesn't matter. I can do the same. That's pretty easy. It's actually basically what you saw me do before I showed that on the stream, where I said I turn this looping thing off.
Mm-hmm.
It's the same. On the same thing, I can just set the start speed just as he's doing here. So that's no problem. That's easy enough. Easy.
And I think for his too, it also does delete the model once it explodes. Not when the let's see how long this is. We have this.
But you can see that. But just go back to the script. You can most likely go to the top and find a model and then see when he's hiding that one. But I think he's hiding that one as soon as he starts the effect. If you scroll to the top of the script.
Oh, it won't let me. It's trying to.
Okay.
Studio.
Yeah, but he's.
Do you have this? Do you have this script?
Yeah, I have the script, and I also have the script. He also sent me the script for the Mortars too. But I can see he is doing a lot of the logic in the shell. It seems like, it's the shell that know if it's loaded or not. I'm changing it a little. It's actually the mortar that have the logic for figuring out what to do. But that's a implementation detail.
I mean, as long as it generally works the same.
Yeah.
I thought you couldn't kind of do it how he was doing it because of the network stuff.
I think I can't. Some of it I can't. But that's why I'm changing that logic, because I'm pretty sure he's just putting the shell as a child of the mortar and then doing stuff. I can't do that. I have to remove it, take it away, and then save something.
You know what? It might delete the.
Yeah, but you can just go to if you go to.
It might be the fuse deleting or it might delete the model when the fuse is done.
Try and go up on the top, this one, yeah, and then, yeah, okay, he don't have a reference in his shell model. In the shell behavior, he don't have a reference to the model, so maybe he's just doing the fuse thing. Try and select the fuse, shell fuse thingy. This one, doesn't it have a unwrapped? What is that?
It might be kind of messed up because I haven't touched these in forever.
Take the fuse component underneath. I think this is his own. No, just you had the shell fuse prefab ball thing. Take the one below. No, the fuse component. Yeah. Okay, yeah, this looks more like my fuse. Okay, he made his own fuse behavior for some reason. But he's not hiding, you're not hiding the model based on the fuse here. Because then there would be an event.
On this before, it's missing the mesh and all that stuff, but there'd be a fuse here wrapped around, like kind of like laying on the shell, balled up. And then you could do.
Oh yeah, that's unwrapped and wrapped.
That would make it a long straight.
Yeah, okay, yeah. And that's also a thing I need to do a bit different.
Package for it maybe or something.
Yeah, but I also have an idea how to solve that problem, because that's the next problem of having the fuse go out of the tube once the shell is inside. But I have an idea for that too. Again, because he was kind of as I remember, he did all the mortars, right? So when you did a shell, you knew exactly what mortars this shell was going into, and you know how long it was, so you could make that unwrapped fuse the right length, as I remember. I would like to.
Actually, you had to. I guess he just had 3 basic ones. If you were to make your own. You would have to find out how you would have to model your fuse to be the length.
Okay. So he provided the right length. Yeah. Okay.
He provided the right length.
Yeah. Okay.
For the different tubes.
Yeah. Okay.
But that could be something. There, like for example, consumer shells in the United States have a green fuse, like a thin green fuse, and professional shells will have a thick brown paper fuse. So it's not like you could just have one fuse and that be it. I mean, you could, but if you were looking for it to, if you're somebody that wants like the realistic model and you want it to feel kind of real, then you would want to have the right fuse on there.
Yeah, but that's also what I'm planning to do. The challenge I'm having is that I wanna make it so that because I wanna make the mortars moddable too. So your 3-inch shell might go into a tiny little shell that is like 20 centimeters, but it could also be a long tube for a meter. So the fuse, you can model the fuse to fit all sizes. I don't know if this is a realistic example, but basically people could do this the right diameter of a tube, but the length could vary. So I'm thinking of doing it a bit different. So you still provide the fuse, but you only provide the part of the fuse that goes out of the tube over the edge, and then having to align it due to something. So I can place it, when you're doing a mortar, I can have an object saying at the edge, and then I can put the fuse at that position, and then it will work no matter how tall the mortar is, if that makes sense.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah. So it's super flexible in that sense, and hopefully still simple. And you don't have to know the length of the mortar in advance. Of course, this will have the problem that if you look down into the mortar, the fuse might not go all the way to the bottom. And right now, you might not even see the shell. I wanna find a way to fix that, I guess, too. But that should be possible.
Okay.
But
I just wanted to get an idea of how it was gonna work, so I kind of we could like let you know if there was like any like realistic properties or something like that we wanted it to have, you wouldn't have to go back and redo a bunch of stuff.
No, of course, and it's perfect to have a chat. And I have a even better idea now, I think, with that effect in the prefab, the initial launch Ember effect in the prefab, and then that thing that changed the main effect. That makes total sense. And that's also why I want to see how it works in the existing one, because then I can, I also want to make it as easy as possible for you to redo your shells to the new one, of course. So yeah, okay, but cool. But I think thank you for the talk, Amnesty, and I can hear it's dinner time, so I have to shut down the stream and the call with you. But have a nice day. What time is it in your? It's 6 o'clock here in the afternoon.
It's noon here.
Okay. Oh yeah, it was 6 hours behind or something. Okay, cool. But
all right.
Thank you for providing some very useful info, and good. You can say goodbye to the stream.
Bye, stream.
Bye, stream. Yeah. See you. Bye. And
all right, see you.
Yeah. Bye. And to you on the stream. Bye bye. See you in the next one. Hopefully with a fewer issues of streams and encoding issues. But the last hour went well. No encoding issues, anything. And we have an even simpler shell idea now. So yeah, looking forward to try and implement that. And now Unity crashed. What? Oh, maybe I was having Unity running. Like, okay. For all this time, Unity was just running in the background in a game. Might be pushing it, but anyway, I'm out. See you. Bye bye.